Hello everyone and welcome to today's interview. I'm here with Marijn over Vest. We'll be discussing how to achieve the best deal results in a negotiation. I would like to start kicking things off with asking you, Marijn, what made you start as a procurement professional?
Good question, and thank you for having me here today. Actually, I ended up in procurement accidentally. So just like many procurement professionals all around the world, and I'm sure that you guys are probably one of them, I did not have the dream of becoming a procurement professional when I was like 13, 14. No, when I got my master's degree, I just really wanted to work for the large global retailer, Ahold Delhaize. So I contacted people that were working there, and then after a few months, they had a job for me on being a procurement analyst. So basically what I did there is I was really green behind the ears, like how we say it in the Netherlands. I wasn't aware of the world of procurement or negotiations, but in that role, I just mainly helped top negotiators on how to prepare for their negotiation.
Yeah. And you have over 15 years of experience in procurement. What made you realize that negotiations are really important, one of the most important parts of closing a deal?
It's important because you need to have the human skills, but also the analytical skills. And that's also the reason why I fell in love with the art of procurement and negotiation from the first day that I worked within the sector, is the fact that you need to have the analytical skills in your negotiation preparation to form a strategy, to understand where is the power, etc., etc. I'm sure we'll dive deeper in that later in this interview. But on the other part, there's the human skills. You need, just like we are sitting here today at this table, you need to negotiate with a person, and that is such different thing than having the analytical skills to prepare for your negotiation. And the combination of both, if you're good at both, then I'm sure everyone can become a great negotiator or already is.
And what is something about negotiations that you had wish to have known before you had started in procurement?
Ooh, this is interesting. So let's take the example of working in the large global retailer. And the first 6 till 7 years, I worked in different procurement roles and I attended negotiations, but I was not really responsible for negotiating myself.
Yeah.
The actual thing is, it is so important to just start doing negotiations, and at that time, your learning curve will become insane more steep. So, to be honest with you, after 6-7 years working within procurement but not negotiating myself, because I worked on the merger, I worked on to prepare for negotiations, I worked as a project manager within procurement, but to actually negotiate yourself, that is something different.
Yeah.
And then again, there's such a huge difference between preparing for your negotiation and negotiating yourself. So in that sense, I would say that you just have to start with negotiating yourself.
Yeah.
You need to make the mistakes, and I can share some mistakes a bit more in detail now. And then you will find out what to do and what not to do, and what works for you as a person and what not.
Yeah.
But in that sense, some of the examples that I would like to share here on mistakes that I made or tips that I would have for people that are starting to negotiate are a few. The first one is to create a connection. In the end, and we already mentioned this before a bit, you will start your negotiation preparation and forming your strategy based on what is important for you and your company. Your sales counterpart will do the same for their company.
Yeah.
But in the end, if you have mutual trust between the two people that are negotiating, it will always lead to better win-win deal outcomes.
Yeah.
If there's the lack of trust, then you will never close the win-win deals that everyone aims to achieve. But to gain, I would say, that trust, you need to invest in the personal side of doing business with people. So that means, and of course this can differ per part of the world or the region where you're originally from, but in my part of Europe, where I'm from and where you are from, especially you are from Portugal, right?
Exactly.
How do you do business in Portugal? What are important drivers there?
Yeah, I think people in Portugal like really to have a more casual part as well, like go for lunch before for a business meeting. Yeah. So always try to be casual as well in a mix of professional as well.
Yeah. yeah, in that sense, I envy the way that Portuguese people do business, because that really aligns with the way that I like to prepare for my negotiations and how I'd like to form a bond with the sales professionals that I was negotiating with. So the more time you invest talking about personal life, hobbies, and sometimes not only negotiate, but also have some time to relax together. And that can mean go for a coffee, visit the suppliers at their site instead of only inviting them at your office. In that sense,
helps build trust.
Indeed. Yeah.
Marijn, do you have any tip for the audience that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so apart from the trust and building a connection, and this is funny because it's actually the opposite, but it's also important, it's knowing when to escalate. So in my first couple of years working as a negotiator myself, because I tended the personal relationship that much, I found myself often in a situation where I negotiated with people that did not have any authority. What I mean with that is that, let's take the example that I will be negotiating with you. I will share a proposal, but then you had to leave this room, call your manager. Oh, Marijn is making this proposal. What shall we do with it? In the first couple of years while negotiating, I respected that. So then I thought, okay, Filipe, I like this guy. He's going outside the room to talk with his manager. But then at a certain point, I realized I lost an insane amount of time while doing that.
Yeah.
So my mistake there was I valued the personal relationship over the quantity and the quality of the speed of driving towards deals. So then what I did after that is that I just made an agreement with myself and of course with my manager. I only negotiate with people that have the authority to share proposals and to close deals. In that sense, if you ever find yourself working as a junior procurement manager and negotiating the first deals yourself, be harsh and try to separate people from business. I did not do that fast enough, and that cost me an insane amount of time invested in negotiating with people that did not have authority. So in that sense, that will be my second tip.
Great, thanks for sharing. I think the audience will find this very valuable. And when you enter to a negotiation, how do you gather and analyze data to prepare yourself?
In that sense, I will not try to make this as specific as possible, but I try to keep my answer clear and easy to understand. My basic tip will be to only start not thinking and analyzing what is important for me and my own company, but I always start my negotiation preparation with thinking what is important for the counterpart that I'm negotiating with and what are his or her business goals. In that sense, after fully understanding that, then I thought, okay, how can we co-create a deal where we respect everything that's important for the other party?
Yep.
And how can we adjust our negotiation strategy based on that to create win-win deals?
Yep.
So in that sense, and with Procurement Tactics, we train procurement teams from all over the world.
Yeah.
This is a mistake that too many procurement professionals still make. If they start preparing for the negotiation, they start thinking, oh, let's look at my strategy. What do I need to achieve for next year? Stop that. Don't do that. Turn it the way around.
Yeah. And can you share a challenging situation that you have faced in a negotiation?
Okay, I have one that I would like to share with you. And it is, the tip is to put away your ego. So in that sense, I'm a proud person myself. I have my ego.
I know.
Yeah, we work together. Of course, you know. Thank you for confirming that to the audience, Filipe.
Of course.
Yeah. So what I did, especially in the first years of negotiating deals myself, I often found myself in negotiations where I could not convince the other party of the importance for a specific deal variable for me and my business. What my initial reaction in the first couple of years was to try to give the supplier more information, overshare information, try to convince them of the importance of a variable for me and my company. But sometimes, or often, I found myself in a stuck deal position where I could not involve my suppliers with the importance of this variable for me. What I learned after a couple of years is that in those situations, I should just ask for help internally. So what I did quite often in those situations is that I escalated internally, so not externally. So after a few times, and of course you have to always try yourself to make sure that you move your suppliers or you let your suppliers move towards your direction. But if that's not working, you can either always ask for help internally.
Yeah.
So what I basically did there is that I called my manager. I told him or her, I'm in this situation with my supplier. I know that I need to close a deal on this variable, but the supplier is not moving. I already told my supplier I need this, otherwise I cannot close a deal with you.
Of course.
Then I just asked my manager, can you maybe call the boss of the sales manager that I'm negotiating with to tell them the importance of this variable? If you share it, maybe that will help the supplier to make sure that they fully understand now the importance of the deal variable.
Yeah.
Of course, I did not like to do this at all because I had the ego. There we go again. I thought that I should be capable of convincing everyone. But in some cases, that's just not the point. Sometimes you need help and then you can just ask your manager to help as well.
We already discussed this briefly earlier in the interview, but I would like to ask you, what role does relationship building play in a negotiation?
Yeah. In general, I truly believe that building a connection is very important in all deals, but it also has to, I would say, has to be linked to the power balance.
Yeah.
So, do you possess the power or your suppliers when it comes to the negotiation? The more interdependency, the more important trust is, and the more important it is to build a connection. If there's a low interdependency, and of course we all want from a procurement professional perspective that the power is at ours instead of our suppliers, then you don't need to build trust at the same level as, for example, a negotiation where you have a high interdependency and when you know that you need to close a deal, that you know that you should give away some variables and that the other party should do that as well. So in that sense, before building a connection with everyone, which again I truly believe it's important, think of where lies the power and what is the interdependence.
Yeah. And how do you empathize with suppliers whose goals are different from yours and can clash?
I think that in these situations, it's even more important to make a distinction between people and persons on the negotiation table and the business that you want to close a deal about.
Yeah.
Why? You will often see yourself in situations where you clash, that people take the behavior that is at the negotiation table personal.
Yeah.
That is, I would say that is a rookie negotiation mistake, but we still see way too many experienced...
Happens more than often. Yeah.
Indeed, it happens more than often, and to be honest with you as well, I also sometimes have it. Now, with Procurement Tactics, I'm at the other side of the table.
Yeah.
So I have been negotiating for over 15 years from the procurement perspective. Now we need to train people, and I am in contact with procurement directors on for which price, how to train their team to upskill them. And in that sense, so this is not only a tip to the audience, but it's also, again, a tip to myself. When there's a position of a clash, don't take it personal. Focus on the content, and if the negotiator where you are negotiating with is showing any signs of wrong emotions in the negotiation, don't be afraid to call it out. So, for example, Filipe, I see that you feel something. Can you please explain to me what are you feeling at the moment? Because in that sense, emotions in negotiations are 9 out of 10 times bad. Yeah. But if they are there and you speak about them, so you talk about them, then after that they will be out of the way. So try to block them for yourself. When you see them at the other part of the table, just make sure you mention it, have a conversation about it, and then continue again. Because in that sense, I truly believe that there's no problem to negotiate in deals that have a clashy behavior, but it should never become personal.
Great. And how do you choose your negotiation style when you enter negotiation?
This is a typical question which I like to answer, but I hate the question. So of course this is not feedback to you, but in this sense, what I learned here is that When we train teams, people often ask me, Marijn, what do you think that is my negotiation style? What do you think that is the best negotiation style? And the answer here is, there is no best negotiation style, and there is not one negotiation style that you should master. I would say that, of course, out of the 5 negotiation styles, the collaborative one is one of the most important ones to master, because if you can show that style and the other party as well, the chances of creating a win-win deal is the most highest. But I would say that the best negotiators, and in that sense also the best procurement professionals, are able to switch between styles whenever it's needed within a negotiation. So in that sense, if I would prepare for a negotiation with you and we would know each other for a couple of years, I would first think, okay, what is the main negotiation style of Filipe, and which styles do I expect him to bring up in the negotiation? And on the other hand, per important variable that I want to achieve in my deal with you, I would think of, okay, when we discuss this, which negotiation style do I implement? When we discuss this, when negotiation style do I implement? And in that sense, it's playing around with the different styles. If you're able to do that, then you will create great deals.
Great, thank you. And now also the question,
Yeah.
how do you manage your emotions throughout the negotiation?
Oh my God, we already discussed this. My ego, the temper, everyone has this. And this is regardless if you work in sales, but also if you work in procurement. It doesn't matter, but in that sense, it's not bad to use emotion in negotiations, but only if you can control it. So I think the top negotiators are able, in that sense, I hate the comparison with negotiations as a game, because in the end it's not a game, because a game always someone wins in the end. And in negotiations I will believe that it's my ideal world that we both win something.
Exactly.
But to create deals that are relatively more towards what you think is important than the other party, sometimes you need to show emotion. But if you cannot control your emotion, and I've been there, and I still see other people also not being it, then it's a problem.
But Marijn, how do you specifically manage your emotions?
I would say that if you are afraid in a negotiation situation that you will lose control of your behavior or of your emotions, then again, make sure to call it directly. So just say to your negotiation counterpart, I notice that I'm losing my emotion. I do not want to lose my emotions, but, and then explain why you are losing your emotion. But if you lose your emotion without feeling it yourself, then the major risk is that you will lose your credibility and that it will backfire you later in the negotiation, because top negotiators are the ones that can control their emotions.
Yeah. Marijn, we have been talking for a while, but we also need to bring the audience in.
True.
If you already have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section and we'll be happy to answer all of them.
Yes.
Now let's shift a bit away from the emotions. How do you think that AI tools can help prepare for a better negotiation?
Wherever we speak with Procurement Tactics on the topic of AI in procurement, which we have been hugely investing in over the last couple of years to make sure we try to be and stay thought leaders on the topic of AI in procurement. Wherever we go, people ask us the same question. Do you think that AI will replace our role as procurement professionals in the negotiation? And my answer is twofold. Yes, it will help insanely in the preparation part of negotiations, and let us deep dive a bit further on that later. But on the deal making phase itself, no, it will not. It might help, but in the end, in closing deals, that will always stay between people. Why? What I learned from closing deals for over 10 years is that the majority of the deals, it is not only about what has been said, but it's also about what is not being said in the negotiation. So for example, in a process that we close a deal and we will negotiate for 3 months, we would have the sessions like this, where we would sit on the table either online or offline and negotiate, but we would also have short catch-ups via phone, or sometimes we might grab a coffee for 50 minutes to discuss small things. in those meetings, you might share some things that are related to empathy, to what is important for your company that you cannot share directly in an email. And I'm not referring to cartel tricks here, or not at all. No, but there's always this part that is not on the surface. If you take the analogy of an iceberg, of course we negotiate about price and all other variables, but AI will never be able to understand what is underneath the surface at my point when negotiating and at your side.
Yeah, this is the human touch.
That's the human touch. You need to understand. I need to see if you're nervous or not in a negotiation, because on topic A that will imply that it's more important for you or not.
Yeah.
You will need to see my emotions. So in that sense, AI can help us with automation of the negotiation preparation part, but not on the negotiation part itself.
Great. So the main recap from your answer that we can take is that AI misses the human touch in a negotiation.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Great. And can you explain the importance of creating a plan when you enter a negotiation?
Sure. And in that sense, I think that having a kind of process in place is very important on how to prepare your negotiation. From a personal perspective, I hate processes. Let's just do business. But when it comes to negotiation preparation, there should be a basic guideline for yourself on, okay, which questions do I specifically want to have answered before I enter any negotiation? Yeah. What we created with the team of Procurement Tactics is that we created a PowerPoint slide deck which basically helps in answering all those important questions. Just to elaborate a bit on not all 9, but on some of the important drivers, you should first think of what is important for my supplier. What are all the deal variables that I want to take into account, and what is the importance for me, and what is the importance for my supplier? Where lies the power balance? Is that at you or at your supplier? What is your like to achieve, your intent to achieve, and what is your break point? So that's, I would say, the more quantitative drivers of what do you want to achieve. But you also need to align your negotiation strategy with your procurement team strategy and with your company's total strategy. You have to think of what are the carrots and the sticks that I can give to my suppliers, and how can I hit my suppliers when things go south and I need to move them into my direction. You need to think of an escalation plan. What is the cooperative scenario? What is the uncooperative scenario? And of course, it's understanding the concepts fully first, but before entering a negotiation, you should, and this differs per sector and per company that you're working in, but you should answer a specific set of questions, and that will help you to make the best analysis possible to have your strategy ready.
Yeah, so preparation is really important to achieve the best deal possible in a negotiation.
For sure, and with a clear process.
Yeah, great. What's your approach to dealing with uncooperative suppliers?
I always try to stay calm and to be friendly, to make sure that I fully understand their position first before I think of reactions or measures to take to make them, I would say, able to move towards the direction that I think that is important to close a deal.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I found out that, especially when I was a junior procurement manager, I wanted to prove myself. I was always in a rush to close deals as fast as possible, as good as possible. Yeah. Sometimes, especially when you're from a perspective of age a bit younger versus your negotiation counterpart, becoming angry or becoming really, I would say, a hardball negotiator.
There comes the emotions again.
Indeed, in that sense, it's stay calm, try to understand, but if you understand them and you fully disagree or you think it's bullshit, sorry for the language, then be a hardball negotiator. Yeah. Tell them that this is unacceptable. If you want to make progress, we need to move forward. And if we need to move forward, I expect this, this, and that from you.
Yeah.
So being persuasive is very good in negotiations. Stay away from the emotional, from the angry part. So my tip would be, stay calm, ask questions, and if the questions are not what you like, then be persuasive and be very direct.
That's a great tip for the audience. And how do you deal with your negotiations in uncertain situations and volatile markets?
I would say that knowledge is way more important. So knowledge and expertise, while I would say buying in a volatile market. So in that sense, it's very important that you fully understand the market before joining a procurement role like that. So for example, if I will be a procurement director and will be managing a team of 20, I would never bring my junior procurement managers towards a market where there's only volatility without having a clear process in place, clear guidance, because in that sense, when experience of the market and knowledge becomes more important, you should have a bit more senior people working in those markets, because in that sense, if you don't understand the market, in a volatile market, the risks of losing money are way higher.
Yeah. And now I would like to jump again back to the topic of AI.
Yeah.
In the different process of the negotiation, how do you think that AI can help? And here I would like you to dive a little bit more in the process.
Yeah, so let's try to bundle this answer or to couple it with the answer that I gave on how to prepare for your negotiation. Yeah. So the audience by now knows the questions that are interesting and important to answer before entering a negotiation. And again, if you work in a different sector, it will differ per person that is watching here. But in that sense, finding the answers on those questions, either with external data or with internal data, this can all be done with use of AI.
Yep.
So in that sense, because it's kind of repetitive, you will have to ask those questions before entering any negotiation.
But then you can also use AI to role play a little bit of how is the negotiation gonna come out in real life.
Indeed. And to give you a personal example of this is that from a personal perspective, and in Dutch we say I'm a bit of a secondly responder to things. Yeah. So what I mean with that, if you would insult me now, I would not feel it directly. So I would then only maybe digest it, and tomorrow I would look back and think,
again, managing emotions.
It's not only about managing emotions, but it's more on how to negotiate. Yeah. So if you would say something to me, then tomorrow I will wake up and then I thought, I should have said this to Filipe.
Yeah.
You have people that are fully capable of responding directly in negotiations. I'm sure the majority of the audience will be that person, but I'm the person that. And yeah, it's in that sense, it's also a bit of insecurity on how do I manage my negotiations. But sometimes I just need to think before I respond. How AI is helping me to act faster within negotiations now is that I think of scenarios and I role play that within AI.
Yeah.
So I'm just, take one example. What if I should negotiate with you tomorrow? I will go to ChatGPT, the version of AI that I use the most. I will tell a story about, okay, tomorrow I'm negotiating with Filipe. This is Filipe from a personal perspective. These are his business interests. This is the proposal that I'm going to propose to him. Can you please give me 5 ways from a role-playing perspective how he can respond? And by knowing that today, I could already think of how to respond if you would respond in one of the 5 scenarios. And that would give me an advantage while talking to you tomorrow. So in that sense, it helps me in preparation of the negotiation and it saves me time within the negotiation itself.
Yeah. And you mentioned ChatGPT, but this can also be used with Copilot or any other chatbot available in the market, right?
Sure.
Great.
Sure.
Now that we have talked about how to prepare for a negotiation, and now we discussed the whole process, I think it would be nice now to also explain the audience how do we measure the success of a negotiation.
This is an interesting question, and I really like it. And this again brings me back to my first years working as a procurement professional. After every deal I closed, I informed my manager either with a WhatsApp or a short email, and then within 10 minutes, my phone rang. And it was my manager. Hey, Marijn, how's life? I saw you close a deal. Great. And then the next question was, Marijn, did you close a great deal? And in the beginning, I was always struggling with that because the answer here is you are never 100% sure if you closed the best deal possible.
Yeah.
Why? Because I would never know what will be your breaking point in the negotiation. The only thing that I will know is, did I push Filipe as hard as possible? Did I achieve the targets that I set myself? And am I happy with the deal? Am I confident that the result is good enough for my company? And am I confident enough that I pushed the other party within the boundaries as much as possible to come towards my position?
Yeah.
If you have a clear and good feeling on those two, then I would say be happy with the deal. But the honest answer here is, you will never know if you closed the best deal possible.
Until it's closed.
No, not until it's closed. You will never know it because you will never share all the information that you had in your deal with me.
Yeah.
That will always stay a black box.
Yeah. We are approaching the end of this interview, but I still have a few questions for you, Marijn.
Sure.
So I'd like you to give a tip to the audience. How to improve on a negotiation. So what things can the audience do to help them improve on their negotiations?
The first tip is that follow a good negotiation training in your first year while working within procurement, but also in your 10th and in your 11th year.
Yeah.
In that sense, negotiation is a thing that, of course, the concept will stay the same, regardless or if you're new in negotiations or you are very experienced, but you need to refresh yourself every year. And in every negotiation training that I went to, I always learned new things.
Yeah.
Second part is make sure to leverage AI within your negotiation preparation. If you don't know how to do that, feel free to contact us. And the third tip is do it, do it, do it. So if you only would follow a negotiation training, you will never become a top negotiator. You need to do both. In that sense, it's learning by doing, combined with having a clear understanding of theory, practices, tips and tricks, and which tactics to use.
Yeah.
But it's always just go out there, go into the field, negotiate, take your learnings from there, combine it with your learnings from training, and then I'm very confident that everyone will be able to become an even better negotiator.
So it's really important to have ongoing development and keep yourself trained in negotiations to keep up also with the tactics that are being used, new ways of preparing for a negotiation. So that's really important to keep up and keep yourself trendy, let's say, in that way, right?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Okay, now we are approaching the end of this interview. So if you have any questions, you still have some time to put them in the comment section. Me and Marijn will be there to answer all of your questions. In the meantime, before we wrap up, I would like to give word one last time to Marijn. Do you have anything that you would like to add?
Actually, I don't think so. It was a pleasure sharing all the mistakes that I made throughout my career. And for the audience, don't be me. And I hope that I could have been inspiring you a bit on avoiding the mistakes that I made. And of course, I will be more than happy to answer any follow-up questions from the audience.
Thank you all for joining this interview. I hope you had a nice time. If you'd like to find out more about our courses, we have a dedicated course just for negotiations. Whether you are an individual or a team looking to upskill yourselves, you can visit our website at procurementtactics.com. If you also get an interest for AI in procurement or negotiation specifically, we also have two dedicated courses. We have a course dedicated to AI and ChatGPT, and we have a little bit more advanced course called AI and Prompt Engineering in procurement. So you can also check those courses in our website. Again, if you have any final questions, you can use the comment section and we'll be there to answering all of you. Thank you all. It was great, and I hope to see you again in our next interview.